On the 25th of March 2021, Invincible was released as an animated series on Amazon Prime and was well received by both critics and audiences alike. The show is an adaptation of the comic book series of the same name, created by Robert Kirkman, Corey Walker, and Ryan Otley. The story follows the exploits of 17-year-old Mark Grayson and his transition from average teenager to superhero. When we're first introduced to the characters, we experience some genuinely tender moments between father and son, as Nolan does his best to guide Mark in his superhero transition. Mark's powers eventually manifest, and the show follows his struggles with his personal life and his obligations as a superhero. His deepest aspiration being that he can be just as good a superhero as his father.
I want to do what you do. I want to be just like you.
However, a shocking twist is revealed. Nolan has been harboring a dark secret. Stick around, things are about to get interesting. Now let me just say, I think Invincible is a well put together show. Everything people praise the show for is deserved. The concept is good, the characters are interesting, the voice acting really brings the animation to life, and the action scenes are brutal but intentional in driving the story forward. I thought the decision to switch up the tone of the action by the end of episode 1 was very clever. It went from sanitized and family oriented to full on blood, guts and gore.
Why?
One of the most shocking and memorable moments for me was the season finale, the episode Where I Really Come From. It's when Omni-Man and Invincible are in the subway during the decimation of Chicago. I also found it interesting that Mark had to learn how to fly. He even had to learn how to land. I thought that was quite cool. Aside from the woke agenda, which we'll get into a bit later, I started to see some very interesting parallels, which were too consistent and too specific to ignore. See, filmmaking is a very powerful medium, and there are 3 characteristics that stand out to me when Hollywood tells their visual stories. Symbols, types, and concepts. Symbols can range from a visual cue like a red dress, or the scenario itself. So let's take a young boy being abused by his parents. He opens a bird cage in his home and the bird in the cage flies free, for example. Type refers to the type of characters that show up consistently in stories, like the strong silent type, or the friend who rejuvenates the hero when he's down, the tough but fair leader who teaches the protagonist what he needs to know to achieve his goals by the end of the story. Concepts refers to ideas and or principles the storyteller would like the audience to walk away with. So just file that in the back of your mind. We're going to be getting to that later. Now the first most obvious parallel was Omni-Man himself. What does the word omni mean? It simply means all. It means everything, everywhere, the whole. Now let's be honest, whenever you're telling a story about superheroes, you're essentially telling a story about gods. So now that we've established the context of a narrative involving deities, I pose the question, where have you heard the type that Omni-Man represents? Let's keep it moving. Now let's look at the first version of the story that Omni-Man tells Mark about who Viltrumites are and the history of their world. The story is initially positive. Viltrumites are an alien people living in a utopia, and when they come of age, they're sent out into the galaxy to use their superhuman abilities to help less developed worlds. By the way, there's another layer to that. Now, Omni-Man had volunteered to relocate to Earth to be its sole protector, and that's where he met Debbie, Mark's mother. Notice how Viltrumites are dressed in white. White can be a symbol of purity. It's also a symbol of the divine. I was watching a reaction video of this series a while back, and when Nolan was telling this version of the story to Mark, the content creator said, so they're angels basically. That's how effective the visuals were communicated. This creator was not looking at the show in the way I was. It was just a genuine observation based on the visual cues that were being communicated to them. Viltrumites were being portrayed as divine beings. Now later on we learned that Viltrumites are actually a sinister people who have ill intentions for humanity. We learned that Viltrumites are actually a conquering empire. The true story of Viltrum is that there was a war whereby, quote, the weak were removed from society and only the strong remained. By the time Omni-Man was born, the Viltrumite Empire was the greatest empire in their galaxy. And so the Viltrumites decided to make their empire the only empire in their galaxy. And Omni-Man volunteered because he believed in their cause. Some species resisted, but ultimately no one could withstand them. Soon their empire encompassed thousands of planets, and as their territories grew, their forces were stretched thin, and so their expansion ceased. They needed a better, more efficient way to conquer worlds. They sent out their best officers to weaken a planet assigned to them, and Omni-Man was one of the lucky few. And so now with Invincible at his side, they need to get Earth ready to join the Viltrumite Empire. There's also a moment when Omni-Man says to Mark, after he's revealed the truth about the Viltrumite Empire, he says,
Mark, this is good news.
well, that's interesting. So the good news is that it's time for humanity to take its place as subjects to the Viltrumite Empire. So Invincible's response to this revelation is to reject Omni-Man and his mission. He will stand up as humanity's defender.
This is my life! These are my people!
We have a responsibility.
He's the one who will stand up to his father, the father who betrayed him, his mother, and the rest of humanity. Omni-Man then proceeds to unleash his wrath, beating Invincible to a pulp. He even utters the words,
I will burn this planet down.
As Omni-Man is about to deal the death blow, he remembers a family moment with Debbie and Mark at a baseball game.
Damn it!
This hits a nerve with Omni-Man and he abandons his post, leaving Earth. So now Invincible's awaiting the return of Omni-Man. And we learn that once Viltrumites set their sights on a planet, they never give up. Now that we've set everything up, let's put it all together and explore those parallels. So, where have we heard of the type of the Omni-Man before? The one who came from a celestial kingdom to Earth to prepare humanity for a coming kingdom. Yep, you said it. It's Jesus. Omni-Man is a type of Jesus. He's also a type of God the Father, but we'll get to that. In this instance, however, the narrative has been flipped on its head. Remember what Omni-Man says his mission was.
Our most trusted officers were each given a planet to weaken by themselves.
This narrative is saying Jesus, the Christ figure, coming to Earth was actually a negative, that it was done to the detriment of humanity. The next parallel is the Viltrum story. There was war on Viltrum. There was war in heaven. But again, the narrative is twisted. The war in heaven was in response to a rebellion. Lucifer attempted to ascend to the throne of God, but the narrative here paints the picture that the biblical kingdom of God is just a totalitarian regime that brutalizes those that are considered to be weak for no justifiable reason. No reason was given as to why the weak were removed from the Viltrumite world. Let's take a slight detour and make reference to Gnosticism and the testimony of truth. The testimony of truth belongs to a collection of Gnostic texts known as Nag Hammadi. In a nutshell, this text makes the case that the serpent in the Garden of Eden was actually the liberator, not the adversary or Satan. He was the bringer of truth, knowledge, and enlightenment. And God, Yahweh, is described as a malicious grudger. The reason I bring this up is to address Invincible. What type is he? If Omni-Man is a type of God the Father and Jesus the Son, who is Invincible? Who, from a biblical standpoint, would favor the narrative that he is the true defender and champion of humanity.
This is my life! These are my people!
The one who is courageous enough to stand up to his tyrannical father and keep humans liberated from his father's totalitarian kingdom. Yep, Invincible is a type of Lucifer. Now I know that the serpent in the garden wasn't Lucifer, but Satan is a title. The title means adversary. It refers to any entity, spiritual or natural, that is hostile towards God's will and or laws. Now, since it's a designation or title, Lucifer qualifies. So Invincible, a type of Lucifer, decides to stand up to his father and be the protector of humanity. I want you to think back to times when you've seen Lucifer portrayed in Hollywood productions as not that bad. Have you ever heard a character say it in a film or TV show? Is the devil really that bad? All he was trying to do was fill in the blank with something positive. There's also the fact that when Omni-Man starts wreaking havoc, it's actually symbolic to Jesus in the book of Revelation. The Bible proclaims that Jesus will punish all sin, and from the imagery in the book of Revelation, it is not pretty. Remember I mentioned before when Omni-Man says,
I will burn this planet down.
That's where that applies. There's also a moment after telling Invincible the true intentions of the Viltrumite Empire. Omni-Man says,
Mark, this is good news.
What's another word for good news? Yep, gospel. The word gospel means good news. So what's Omni-Man's gospel?
We need to get Earth ready to join the Viltrum Empire.
So we start to see that when we start putting it all together, it's all a negative. It's a negative that there was war in heaven, a war that purged the corruption of Lucifer's sin, of trying to supplant God. It's a negative that Jesus came to earth to prepare humanity for the coming kingdom of God. Jesus coming to earth was actually an infiltration mission to weaken and subvert humanity and prepare us for conquest, not redemption. I also found it interesting that for the entire last episode, Omni-Man was drenched in blood. Yes, the character that's a type of Jesus is drenched in blood as he exacts his vengeance upon humanity for rejecting his coming kingdom. So what was the final outcome of the story arc? It was that humanity wins in the end. Omni-Man is ultimately sent into retreat because his son's love was greater. It was Invincible's love for his father that was more potent.
You, Dad. I still have you.
It was Invincible, Lucifer, who took the wrath of the Father upon himself and demonstrated his love for humanity, which appeased the wrath of the Omni-One. And as we know, God the Father is omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent. Wow. So you might be saying, why do all this? What's the end game here? The answer is both simple and multifaceted. The simple version is this: it's Hollywood. Why do you think people refer to them as Holly Weird? They're into this kind of stuff. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but these people are into alternative spirituality, namely Theosophy and Thelema. Let me ask you this. When somebody tries to share the Christian message with you, how do you respond to it? How do you feel? Do you cringe? Are you hostile towards it? Are you like, I don't want to hear that? You don't really know why. You just know you don't want to hear or have anything to do with it. Think about why that is. When was the last time you saw a Christian portrayed in a positive light in a Hollywood production? A Christian who stands by what they believe and doesn't compromise? Or are Christians usually portrayed as ignorant, dumb, incestuous, hypocrites, and so on? Could it be that you've been told this twisted narrative over and over again throughout your life? What I think is really genius about this is that you're on Invincible's side. Of course you are. Looking at the story on the surface, why would you be on Omni-Man's side? But let's look at it through the lens of my analysis. You're on Lucifer's side and you reject Jesus. You reject Jesus, the Omni-Man, and his good news or gospel. You reject his coming kingdom because actually it's a conquering empire. Interesting stuff, right? Now before Invincible, Kirkman created an independent comic book called Battle Pope.
So wait a minute, that kid in there is your roommate or whatever?
Yeah, so?
Just seems a bit, I don't know, weird.
We just work together. I don't even like him.
Can you read me a story? I can't get to sleep.
Okay, I'm out of here.
Damn it, Jesus!
Now I can already hear some of you saying, relax man, lighten up, chill. Well, first of all, don't I seem chill? But let me ask you this. Would you say that if he had mocked Buddha or any of the Hindu gods or Muhammad or Allah? I think we all know what would happen if he did that. By the way, the woke agenda is rife here. See, when it comes to intersectionality, one of the identities that puts you in the oppressor category is Christian. That's right. If you are a Christian, you are an oppressor. And we've already established who Omni-Man is. So here we have an Asian woman She's married to Nolan, a white man, and they have an interracial son. And they are bitterly betrayed by Nolan, the Omni-Man, the type of Christ. Omni-Man even refers to Debbie as a pet.
I do love your mother. She's more like a pet to me.
So this poor Asian woman was just a pet to this evil white male. Also, the Viltrumite Empire doubles up conceptually as American imperialism. So you can just substitute worlds with nations. So the various different planets are actually representative of real world countries and cultures. So the narrative of the white Christian American male encroaching on less fortunate peoples is also being pushed here. Like I said, very interesting stuff. Anyway, I just thought I'd share those observations, and I hope you gained some value from this video. Hollywood has lost most of its credibility as pioneers when it comes to filmmaking, and I can see in real time that something new is happening. I am so glad and appreciative that I get to be a part of that in my own way. And if you'd like to show support, please like, subscribe, and share this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.